In nearly every sphere of the globe, one of us is learning, one of us is teaching, and all of us are yearning to learn more in order to play a role of the church in the world. The intellectual investigation into the Bible is what ensures people of different nations and cultures can find common ground and lifelong friendships. Union Presbyterian Seminary in Richmond, Virginia is that place, a rallying point for Christian scholars to gather and put their best ideas forward, to live in the perspective of people who share their faith but see the world differently.
We are very intentional about creating a space for students to know themselves in a deeper way and for students to understand their culture and their presuppositions, what they bring with them, the needs of their local communities, and how they can practice their ministry in their local context.
The evangelically poor are those who make themselves available to God in the realization of God's project in the world.
Like any bold step in your life, there are challenges to coming to America and trying to find your way while also fulfilling your passion. One of the biggest challenges is the challenge to your own way of thinking. This is what happens when people from significantly different cultures gather.
When you take the time out to think about the difference in culture, it has been especially giving me the opportunity to just broaden my worldview. And I appreciate that, because sometimes we have concepts and constructs in our own mind that would have been impacted by our own cultural reality.
So for theological training to be effective in the lives of international students, there is a need to create a balance between knowing oneself and knowing one's culture and knowing one's vocational goals that relate to one's context, and to contribute through that, to share the wisdom that they bring with them because of their culture. But at the same time, it's equally important to be open to the cultures to which they come to study, to the cultures that surround them, to think about it critically, to evaluate, to reflect on them.
Once I got here, I was in awe of how everything is. It's crazy to just think about the intentionality of people, and not from we're just doing this so that we can get the job done, but it's doing this so that the priority has not been about anything else but the student. And I love that.
Once that balance has been struck, international students at Union can take that next step, bringing their own cultural manifestation of their faith to societies from across the world. Suddenly, your ideas can travel the globe.
I have this vision of us serving the global church. Christianity is no longer a Western religion, and thanks be to God for that. There is a growing and flourishing church all over the world, in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, and elsewhere. And these students represent that. They bring their unique perspectives, they bring other questions, they bring interesting insights. And so there's a richer conversation when you have international students in the classroom.
One of the keys to a successful international student program is developing the ability to see cultures different than your own objectively. It's not always easy.
And that includes, of course, appreciating and welcoming different languages. Even if the language of instruction is English, and we know that, there is true respect and appreciation of other languages for those of us who speak Spanish, or my colleague who speaks Arabic or other languages among us. I think people are really willing to learn from them and with them, and that includes other languages and other cultures.
The reason it's important to have so many sort of diverse opinions is we live in a global context, and when we speak to the global church, we realize that there are lots of sort of things that if you just are focused here in America, if you're just focused in the Southeast, you might miss a lot of the important questions that are some of the most pressing of the day.
The success of the International Student Program at Union comes from leaning into these cultural and faith-based differences and not trying to avoid them. This allows for a sense of discovery that can only happen in a place that welcomes a vigorous intellectual investigation of the faith, and a place that welcomes all people with grace and compassion.
It's a very warm institution. The number of students that we have allows us to really take care of each of them almost personally in the classroom and beyond. We have wonderful colleagues, faculty, a wonderful library facility.
The library, which is a very beautiful place and one of my favorite places. I love the neighborhood here because I love to take long walks alone. The neighborhood is just that place for me to explore, to move about when I'm not studying, when I'm not in my room. I think it's a beautiful neighborhood, it's a beautiful place to be.
I do know that this location can be hard and risk is needed for anyone to grow in life. And here we are there to support you when you find yourself dislocated away from home, trying to take risk, learn, and we are there to support you.
I hope to achieve when I go back to be able to instill not only a leadership role, but also a love for leadership in itself. Because when you instill that, and then that's exactly what Jesus did. He literally just took the 12 disciples and say, yeah, from now on you should not be fishing regular fish, but you should be fishers of men. And that was literally just an invitation of saying, follow me.
So I invite you to come to UPSem to enrich us, but also to grow and to learn with us, to be equipped with the gifts and the skills that will hopefully be beneficial and will strengthen your ministry and witness into your own church and into your own community.
The first step of the admissions process is to contact the Director of Admissions. Degree program descriptions can be found online. Each degree program has prerequisites that applicants will need to make sure they meet prior to applying. Applicants should submit their application in the fall prior to the year they would like to start. Application deadlines can also be found online. And all admitted students are eligible for scholarships. Thanks for your interest in the International Student Program at Union Presbyterian Seminary. Let's get started.